Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? It was recently brought to my attention in the Facebook group that I start all of my videos with, "Hey guys, what's up?" And that's just not a battle I'm going to fight. That's how YouTube videos start. I don't know what to fucking tell you. But anyway, how's it going? Hope you guys are well. Got a little bit of an interesting, unusual, unexpected video today. So as you know, during this quarantine, I've been just working on my shit, just working it out, figuring things out, optimizing my systems, finding what works for me, finding what I like to do. But specifically, a lot of my time in quarantine and in this lockdown, again, because Los Angeles, we started the lockdown and the safer at home social distancing protocols really early, like middle of March. And while some states are starting to relax, like New Mexico, LA is in it for the long haul because we got a lot of fucking people. And we got to be real careful about how we open things up and what we open back up because we don't want to. We know that there's going to be a spike later, but we don't want to undermine that. But in this time, it's been really cool to sort of track my own journey of personal growth. I am not the same human that I was before this all started. It's so weird. I was talking to a friend last night, and we hadn't talked in a while. Perfectly lovely friend. I like this human very much, but she came at me with energy that I would have been very receptive to before the quarantine. And then she texted me, and I think we talked maybe briefly, like right when it all started, and I was like at peak hot messness. And then she texted me last night, and I was like warm and friendly. I love to see her, but like the energy she was giving me, I just wasn't vibing with. And I was like, oh, right. Because we were connecting positively, but we were doing so from, in response to a lot of toxicity in our life and in our environment, and now that I don't have that as much, I didn't want to meet her in that emotional place that we had been connecting before. But I bring up that little anecdote because I think it is important beyond OP, beyond all of this, to like think about the strides that you have made, because I guarantee at this point in the quarantine, every single one of you has changed in some meaningful way. You just have. There's no way that you could have possibly gone through the last 6 weeks or more of quarantining without, changing in some meaningful way. And I am not bringing this up to say that, like, I have mastered the gamma quadrant and I'm ready to move on to other functions. But I am saying that, I think that there's a lot that I am missing in my gamma quadrant, right? Like, my gamma quadrant is really good at doing a lot of things. But there are things it's not as good at doing. In particular, TI, which is the point of today's video. So, I don't know, but one of you guys, be a professional, my goodness. So, one of the things that I've really been thinking about, and that has become so astronomically apparent to me, is doing what works for me mechanically. And it's such a strange concept to me. And the reason why it's a strange concept, so I'm an INTJ and I'm blast play, so I'm doubling up on my TE in a savior state, attached to both my savior animals. Like, I am a fucking TE machine. And getting everybody on board with the logic that works for everybody, right? And you can see that in my writing. You can see that in my speech. Obviously, I have Savior DE to hell. But the reason why you know that I have TE and not FE is because I'm not talking about values all the time, right? And when I do talk about values, it's in a very personal way. It's in a very Tony Robbins-ish sort of way. It's not Gary V trying to always ping off what other people think is valuable and meaningful, right? My pinging that I'm trying to do is like what works for everybody, right? It's one of the reasons that I did so well in my corporate-ish job, and was sort of like my role in my company when I was in New York was basically to take this small business and corporatize it and to make it, streamline the things, make everything really efficient, to get rid of all of the one-off quirks, because everything was a one-off, that there was no standard, there was no procedure for everybody to follow. There was no set of rules or guidelines that just worked for everybody, right? And so I really excelled in that role because I was able to go, all right, so if we're redoing the tutor compensation structure, paying tutors in New York City this amount of money is just not going to work. You're not going to get the quality of people that you want, and you're not going to retain the people if you pay them the same as you pay them in Boston and Philadelphia, because the cost of living is so vastly different, right? So that's an example of my TE being able to go, this isn't working for everybody, right? Or rather, there is a group of people for whom this does not work. Like mechanically, logistically, it just doesn't work. I get that if FE feels good that everybody's paid the same regardless of where you are, and we charge the families the same regardless of, I get the FE part of that. But on a brass tacks level, it just doesn't work for the bulk of the company, right? So again, or just hey, we have this weird database that 3 people are doing 7 different things. Let's just make one database for the whole company that everybody uses. It's streamlined, it's efficient, it just fucking works for everybody. There's no quirks, there's no nuances, there's no anything. It just fucking works. It just fucking works. And I'm really, really good at that. Here's the problem with that. TE is obviously very helpful if I'm in a position of leadership, in a position of authority, if I'm trying to go you do this, you do this, you do this, and between all of us, our camp will succeed, and we'll have the food and the army and the spiritual and we're doing the early, we're doing the culture human thing, right? And it even works. I do need to keep strengthening my FI, but in a lot of ways, my FI is actually fine. It was just hammered on for so long that it in a very Moana-ish way, it was, you forgot who you are, who you truly are. And now that I remember who I am, I'm oh, right, the FI thing, right. I can do just, these are the things that I like. I can tell you what I like. I somewhat feel the need to justify them, but not because I think everybody else should like them. But it feels weird to me to promote something that doesn't work for everybody, right? And that is my, it's sort of, if you think about playing the guitar, right? Well, now it's actually a lot better, but for a long time, playing the guitar was an extraordinarily expensive endeavor. And certainly to do it at the professional level it is, but even to just to buy a guitar that wasn't hot garbage back when I was learning how to play the guitar, that was kind of an ordeal. It was very difficult to find a decent guitar for not a lot of money. That is not the case anymore. So I'm a lot freer about like encouraging people to pick up the guitar because the barrier of entry is so low that that's not a big deal, right? Same with computer games, actually. I play Magic the Gathering, but I don't promote Magic the Gathering a lot because the barrier of entry is really high and not everybody has the time, and there's an investment emotionally, and there's a lot of time you got to sink into it. Cards are expensive, or if you play online, like free to play is kind of wonky, right? So I don't really promote that too much. But I do promote computer games in general because I do think that you can, we all need computers to just live. And so you can get a lot of bang for your buck having a good computer and playing some games on it. And it's a multi-purpose machine. Like I have my computer that a buddy of mine built for me almost 4 years ago. Still runs great. I think I probably spent a total of $1,000 on it. Plus, peripherals and things. But I think it was like $1,000 to $1,200 or something. And I have more than gotten $1,200 worth of value out of that machine. It's not even close. So that's the sort of like my TE mindset is, all right, this thing works, but does it work for everybody? And if it doesn't work for everybody, then I'm not going to promote it. I'm not going to put my weight behind it. I'm not going to invest in it. But I realized, so one thing, and I wasn't sure which gimmick to do for this video. I ended up going with the tie gimmick because TI sounds like tie. And that does tie into this. Hey, cha-cha-cha. I'm sorry. The jokes write themselves, man. You gotta just grab that low-hanging fruit. But really what spurred this idea was I've been really into potato chips lately. I fucking love potato chips. And that's a weird thing to be really into, especially for somebody who does, obviously I'm not working out as much lately, but like who values fitness, who values working out, who values good nutrition. Like those things matter to me, and I'm really into potato chips. So how can that be? Well, here's the thing. As I have mentioned in more than half of my videos at this point, I have a grain sensitivity. I cannot eat grain without feeling really bad. So one of the things that I have been working on for the past, so this was end of January, beginning of February is when this really started. February, March, April, May. So for the past 3 months, I have been basically grain-free. Couple of exceptions. I'll have a little piece of pancake here and there if I'm out with friends. I'll have a little bit of bread, a little bit of pot, but like basically totally grain-free. And in fact, the other day I was like, I want to try grain again. I want to see how it feels now that I've been like detoxed from my body. It was fucking awful. I felt terrible. I was bloated. I gained 3 pounds overnight. It was bad. So I'm like, all right, great. Grain does not work for me. But there are lots of very good grains for you that I cannot eat. Farro, quinoa, right? Like stone ground oatmeal, like these whole grains, corn, right? Like these are not that bad for you, right? They have a lot of nutrition, but my body cannot process them properly. So even the good shit I can't eat, it's not like, well, obviously fucking Wonder Bread makes you sick. Like, no. Like any grain, I've had to find substitutes. And I used to eat nachos all the time, and I used to eat sandwiches. Like, I don't eat sandwiches anymore. And so, again, working with this nutritionist, she's like, here's how you can supplement. You need a lot more fat in your diet, a lot more salt in your diet. So combine the fat and the salt with the vegetables you cook and this and that. But again, we're in quarantine. These are stressful times. And I knew that I needed to find a reliable snack for myself. Just a comfort foodie kind of snack that I could just go to and not think about and not wonder, is this a good snack? Could I be doing better? Should these be carrots? Like, again, no. It's too much energy. You've already lost the game, because as soon as you start expending too much energy, then you're just fucked, right? Because then what I realized is that I needed these things that were neither good nor bad, that they were totally neutral for me to sort of be able to go to, that I didn't ever have to think about or try to optimize or try to be better at. It was this like 20% of just stable. And one of those things for me has become potato chips and playing Animal Crossing. And I've moved into the Elder Scrolls stuff, revisiting that as well. But like, really, it's Animal Crossing and potato chips. Like, that's what I go to if I'm feeling a little stressed, feeling a little anxious, whatever. Those two things, like, we're good. And neither of those things are particularly productive, but they're also not destructive, so I stick with it, right? But then I tell people this, and again, I've not gained a pound. I've gained lost a little bit of muscle mass, but like, I haven't actually gained any weight in the past, God, we're going on 2 months now. I just haven't gained any weight, which is fucking wild. And I think a big part of that is the potato chips. Because I figured out that for me, potato chips work. Yeah. I happen to like potato chips. But mechanically, the purpose that they serve is to give me a hit of fat and salt, and I get the peppercorn, or the black pepper and salt ruffled kettle chips, because the vinegar is too much. But I like the black pepper and the salt. That's sort of my FI. But the TI part of it is like, if you have like not even that many chips, like whatever the serving of like 9 large chips, which is apparently a fucking serving, like, that's good for me. That hits all the buttons I needed to hit. I feel full because it's super fatty and fried. It hits the salt button for me. Technically, a potato is a vegetable. Technically, it is a vegetable. But and it's a carbohydrate. Like, again, is it perfect and ideal? No. Is it better if I eat carrots and peanut butter? Obviously. But that ain't gonna happen. Like, that's just not gonna happen all the time, especially if I'm anxious and stressed. Carrots are not gonna push that dopamine button for me. And in doing this, in thinking about it, no part of me has any desire to preach the wonders of potato chips for everybody. No part of me wants to do that, because I understand, like, obviously potato chips don't work for everybody. My circumstance is very unique in that I have a very specific food sensitivity. So therefore, potato chips work for me. And once that sort of clicked, I was like, oh, that's TI. And I sort of think of it like, all right, so I'm not going to fully stand up because then you'll see my dick. But like, when a man learns to tie a tie, there's like the rules of tie tying, where it's like, the short end is on the left. Okay, that's true for everybody. But then they get into like, it should be like halfway up, like, but you know, like in the middle of your rib cage. And then, right. And then you just tie a normal tie again. So these are sort of like the TE mechanics of tying a tie, right? Go around, go up and in, then you go through, boom, right? Very, very simple tying a tie. But here's the thing. Within that, like, yes, those are the basic mechanics of it. But, so I'm like 5'10-ish. I have a really short torso. I wear 32, 34 jeans. My legs are long as fuck. I had some weird stunted growth shit happen to me when I was a kid. I probably should be like 6'2" or 6'3", but my growth was stunted, so I'm only 5'10", and I'm stunted in my torso. So as a result, I need to make sure that the tie that I have isn't too long. I don't care what the average length of tie should be or what works at scale. If a tie is too long, I'm gonna look like I have two dicks, and that's a problem. I like the one that I have. It's delightful. I don't need one that's fucking blue and purple as well, right? Not about it. And then even within that, like, okay, sometimes you don't get the perfect size tie, you know, but you got to figure out for each individual tie you have, whatever you're trying to do, like, okay, so for this tie, how thick is it? Like, so like this tie right here, if you look at it, it's pretty uniform thickness for a lot of it. And then it starts to get a little wider right here. But it never gets too much wider than that. Like it never, there are some ties that are like skinny, 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 and then they get real fat. Okay, well, that's not going to work for me because I'm not a large dude. Like it would look weird on my body to have a tie that fucking takes up half of my torso, right? And again, I don't care about, you know, the big fat corporate dudes, whatever, that buy these big fat fucking ties. That does not work for me. So then obviously I'm not going to get that tie, right? I need a tie that's like this, that is mostly thin, that has a little bit of an outward, right? To make it, because I don't want a super skinny tie. Again, I'm not super skinny mini dude, right? Like I do have relatively, again, you can't see it right now because I am working out, but like when I'm working out, like when I'm in shape, like I am fairly broad, like I'm a little thick up top. So I do need some sort of bulk because I'm not a toothpick. If I were more toothpicky, then I would need the real skinny tie, right? Again, these are the mechanics of what makes a tie work for me, or what makes the TI of a tie work for me. And again, at no point am I like, well, yes, obviously everybody should get a tie like this, and you know, everybody should you know, this is the best kind of tie, and if this tie doesn't work for you, then you are stupid and you're doing it wrong, right? That's not how this works, right? Every tie, you gotta find your way of tying ties that actually works for you, and part of that is finding ties that fit your body, that work for you. And when you do find that, you're not trying to scream it to the rooftops, right? You're like, no, this works for me. Obviously, it wouldn't work for you, but it doesn't have to because that's not the point, right? And it was such thinking about the potato chips and this tie tying analogy, I was like, oh, shit. This is kind of what I've been doing. This space has allowed me time to figure out my own TI, which has been really, really cool and exciting. Like, it's exciting in a way that learning hasn't felt exciting like this for me in a while, because I'm so viscerally concerned all the time with, well, does this work for everybody? Is this the optimal way to do it? Right? I think about Animal Crossing and like the way you are supposed to set up your island to breed flowers, right? Well, my process has been very FITI, which again, I know is not a thing, but like fucking play along, right? So my island has roses. I love roses. I think roses are the coolest fucking flower. I don't want any lilies. I don't want any mums. I don't want any fucking anything else. I don't want any tulips. I just want my roses. So what do I do when I'm setting up my plots to grow my roses and do the hybrid breeding thing? Well, because I don't give a shit about having every fucking color of rose, you know what I want? I want black roses and I want purple roses. And if I happen to get some pink roses, great. Cool. All I need a big fucking plot of red roses and a big plot of white roses. And then that will get me all of the colors of roses that I need, right? My black, my red, my black, my purple, and my pink, right? If I happen to get a blue because I get the hybrid red and it does the fuck, okay, cool, great, I don't give a shit. Blue is not a color that my FI is interested. So my TI process is not going to try to account for it. I'm only trying to get black and purple roses. What's the easiest way for me to get black and purple roses? A big old patch of red and a big old patch of white. Cool. At no point am I saying, you know what makes the best island for you know what everybody should do? Everybody should do it exactly the way that I'm doing it, because my way is the bet. No. If you don't want black roses, doing what I'm doing is not going to get you what you want. It just isn't. So, like, don't listen to me if what I'm trying to do doesn't line up with what you're trying to do. Right? And that's a big trap that my TE fell into for so long. Was, well, it wasn't even, it was one level even beyond the like keeping up with the Joneses. And well, if everybody jumped off the George Washington Bridge, wouldn't you jump off the George Washington Bridge? Is that what you're saying to me? Right? It's one level beyond that. It's, well, clearly the best thing that one can be doing is this thing, right? This is the objectively best process. So therefore, you should be doing this thing, right? But if my NI goal is different, why am I so concerned with what TE works for everybody because my goal is so unique? And part of what I've really figured out, so I'm in these improv classes now, right? I'm doing the Second City training center thing. It's super cool. I love it a lot. My class is fucking awesome. I don't know how I lucked into this class, but we are all like, with an improv class, it's real hit or miss. And it's, you'll get people who like aren't very good and have just sort of been like fumbling their way through it. But like everybody in my class, even if they're not serious about improvising, which, to be clear, I do not give a fuck about being good at improv. Like, I don't want to be on an improv team. Doing improv for the sake of improv isn't fun for me. Like, I don't want to do it. But like, I appreciate that everybody in my class, we're on the same path. We're on the like wanting to be professional comedians and in the world of comedy and acting and performing arts and all this and the boop and the bop, right? But as far as how that fits into my larger goal, they were talking about like, hey, we should all get together on Tuesday and just like do a little improv scrimmage together, right? And I was like, no, my FI doesn't want to, and it doesn't TI work for me. Like, I have other things that I would rather be doing at any point during the week. I am not interested in doing improv. I need and want to be spending my time doing fucking literally anything else other than doing an improv scrimmage, especially because the way the conservatory is moving, it's moving away from strictly improvising and moving into sketch writing, which is what I actually want to do. And so because we're not at the point where we're improvising with the goal of sketch, we're just improvising for the fun of it, kind of, right, with no goal. I'm like, nope, that does not fit into my TI framework of how my box works. No, that's okay. But again, no part of me is saying, listen, this doesn't work for me. My goal is different. And your goal, like your brain should work the same way as my brain. No, I'm not telling anybody what to do. That's preposterous. Why? Like, I am actively encouraging everybody else to get together and do the thing that they want to do. My FI doesn't want to do it. It doesn't work with my TI framework that I'm building. So I'm just not going to do it. And that's fine. But I'm not trying to shout anybody down and like tell them they should do something. They should do something just because I'm doing it. That's ridiculous. And so to sort of end on this, like, it's been really nice and refreshing and clarifying and clearing, and it's been great to be able to find things that work for me beyond like, I like this. This matters to me, right? Of course, the things that matter to me have always been very personal to my FI, right? I have it in the middle. I've always had some awareness of it. That sort of comes naturally to me. Even if I don't like to do it, the premise of like, what do you like, Raj? Well, I like Magic the Gathering, and I like personality study, and I like the metaphor of the moon, and I like playing the guitar, and I like playing computer games, and all of these. Like, I could just rattle them off, right? But when it comes to like, yes, but what works? Like, let's put together a block bangy system for doing the things. Let's find the logic in everything. My brain for so long has been like, oh fuck, we're finding logic. Well, the logic has to work for everybody. It can't just work for one person. But that's very obviously not true, as evidenced by the fact that I have been developing my own patterns and systems and routine that fucking only work for me. So, and I've been having a lot of success with it. So maybe I need to dig into my wherever the fuck it is in the 8 stack or the 5th or the, I don't know. But like, maybe I need to dig into that a little bit more. And if I can tap into like sort of learning to speak from a TI place where it's not confrontational, right? I'm not trying to be like the INTP dickbag who is just like, I'm the smartest one in the room. It's like, well, actually, like, I'm not trying to be that guy. But I think it's really important to have that robust intellectual framework that isn't swayed by what's working for everybody else. Because for so long, I'd be trying to build this TI, which is already hard for me. Then all of a sudden, this big TE wrecking ball would come in and be like, do this instead. And I'm like, motherfucker, all right, fine. And I'd slowly start to build something to fit the TE thing of the moment. And then TE would be like, just kidding, do this other thing. And I'm like, guys, come on now. And so being able to ignore my TE and really, it feels like and I know this isn't really how it works, but it feels like I'm looping my FI and my TI. And I'm just going back and forth between like, do I like it? Does it work for me? Do I like it? Does it work for me? At no point am I looking for approval from the outside world. It's like a weird, like hardcore decidery sleep that is totally unassailable by TE and FE. And like now that I've started to build that, I can actually go out into the world and play whatever game I need to play because I have this FI plus TI robust inner framework that just makes shit happen internally. So I'm not getting caught up in the FE values game. And I'm more importantly not getting caught up in the, well, this is the hot tech thing of the moment. This is what all the pros are doing, right? That's a big trap I fall into. It's like, well, what are the pros doing right now? Well, they're pros. They've been doing they already done all of the TI-FI shit. So of course they can just jump from thing to thing. I ain't there yet, so I shouldn't be asking what the pros are doing because that just isn't who I am. So me as a, cranked up TE loaded INTJ or ENTJ, depending on whatever system you want to use, working on that TI is only making all of the other deciders that I tap into stronger and easier to access. And again, I'm not saying that TI is the route for everybody, but I do think that it's worth noting, like, if you felt yourself starting to stagnate a little bit, if you felt yourself going like, I don't know, I think that there's something more. I think that my function stack isn't letting me see the whole board, or it's not letting me be as efficient as I want to be, or it's not making me as happy as I want to be. Dip a toe into a fifth function just to see how it feels, just to see like if you can get some leverage out of that. And in a million years, I never thought that TI would be the secret to fucking anything. But man, it has been doing work for me. It has been doing work for me, and I can't ignore it. All right, that's all I got for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful Sunday. Bye! And stream, oh God.